Am I wrong for calling my brother's girlfriend disgusting and refusing to meet her? I, 27 female, recently had a very unpleasant encounter with my brother's 32 male new girlfriend, 21 female, that has culminated in the family getting dragged into it. We'll call her Anne. He's been with Anne for about 5 months, but I've never met her for various reasons from both of our ends. He said he wanted to get to know her properly before introducing her to us all. And I made a crack along the lines of, yeah, well, 12-year-olds are known to be unpredictable, which made him sulk for a while too. I probably shouldn't have said that, but the age gap is weird to me. I met up with him a few weeks ago for coffee. The topic of Anne came up briefly, but he just said that they are still together and he liked her, so I was coming around to the idea that I maybe should stop being a judgmental asshole and just meet her. After, I went back to my car, grabbed my plastic bags, and went shopping in town. After about an hour, I came back to my car and it was messed up. It had been scratched, a drink thrown over it, but the worst thing was that someone had smeared blood on my driver door and literally shoved a used feminine hygiene product in the door handle. I had to go back to the store and buy rubber gloves and bleach just to get back into my car. I get home and I get a text from my brother. He said Anne had confronted him when he got home over his cheating and she thought I was the other woman and had vandalized my car. He said she was really upset and wanted to apologize to me in person and give me flowers. I said that even if I had been some other woman, that what she did was disgusting and she was nuts. I never wanted to meet her and I expected payment for cleaning and damages. For the last 2 weeks, it's been this revolting door of my family calling me and telling me to let her apologize. Me letting them know exactly what she did and them mostly agreeing with me in the end. Then I get messages from my brother telling me to stop telling people what happened because it was embarrassing Anne. I had some aunts who are mad at me for even telling them. Make it make sense. And her family are of course livid with me, not to mention my brother. It's just so much noise in my head that I'm starting to think I should just drop it because I have repaired the damage and had it cleaned. I've sent my brother the bill but not had anything from him yet because he says I've done emotional damage to Anne. Bro, honest to God, I swear, I would have called the cops. I'm petty like that. I would have pressed charges and be like, yo, this person vandalized my car. And you have proof, that the text message proof that, or the call that she vandalized your car. You're too nice. I don't care if my brother or not. I would be like, this bitch is crazy. I think it was emotionally damaging to have to see what she did to my car, but in the off chance that I've gone mad and I am overreacting, please tell me. So, am I the asshole for calling my brother's girlfriend disgusting and never wanting to meet her because of what she did to my car?
Is it wrong that my boyfriend wants me to watch rate corn? Huge trigger warning here. Please do not watch if you are sensitive to this. Take care of yourselves. I love you. My boyfriend and I have been together for 8 months. I just turned 21 and he's 33. He's always kind of been the perfect boyfriend, but a few months ago he started acting more like my dad. Started with him just telling me what to do, and then eventually he started trying to give me advice about everything I did. For example, he'd tell me how I needed to talk to my landlord and small things like that. And now I feel like it's gotten to the point where he wants to completely control me. Now here's the thing. I'm young and I don't know if I'm just overreacting or if I'm reading too much into this, but I know that sometimes he makes me feel really uncomfortable. Only 2 months after dating, he asked me to marry him, and I didn't say yes right away, and this really upset him. He accused me of wanting to stay single so that I could date other guys. I told him that I thought I was too young to get married and that we needed to get to know each other before we talked about marriage. But here's the thing. He started getting so upset that eventually I said yes. So as of now, we're kind of engaged, but I don't really want to. He wants us to go buy a ring and he wants to formally ask my parents. I called my parents to tell him about it and they were totally against the idea. I agree with my parents. I haven't told my boyfriend, but things get worse. Started showing me the corn he watches. When I didn't want to watch it, he got really mad at me. Part 2 is it wrong that my boyfriend wants me to watch rate corn when he wants to do sexy time? Huge trigger warning. Please don't watch this if you are sensitive. Take care of yourselves. I love you. I was laying on the bed and he flipped his laptop over. That's when he says, here, watch this. It was kind of like regular corn. Nothing too disturbing, but it made me feel really uncomfortable. I told him it looked funny and he said, why would it look funny? You don't like it? That's when I said, not really. At that point in my life, I had never looked up anything related to corn. It's not something that I was interested in. So I felt really uncomfortable. He turned the computer on and I couldn't see the screen anymore. For the next 3 hours, he stayed on his laptop in his room watching corn. I felt like I was interrupting him. I went to the kitchen and decided to cook. Dinner was ready. I asked him to come eat and he left me waiting another hour. When he finally comes out, his face was completely changed. And for the rest of the night, he was really quiet and kind of rude. A few days later, he brought up the engagement again. He asked me if I had time to go look at rings and reluctantly, I said yeah. He went into a jewelry store and he told me to just choose one. I told him that I didn't want to rush it and what he was watching and that I really didn't like it at all. Then he just rolled his eyes and got mad at me. For the next 5 minutes, he called me a prude and told me that what he was doing was completely normal. And I guess part of me really did want to believe him and he managed to convince me. I asked him to close the laptop because I could hear the noise. He said I was overreacting and told me to go home. So I did. Didn't speak to him for 3 days until finally he came over to my place. He acted like nothing had happened. Now here's the thing. I don't know if it's a normal thing or not, but I don't think it is. I haven't Googled it or anything because I don't want to, but I also haven't talked about it to anybody. What scares me is that he's gonna want to do stuff like that and I'm not comfortable with it. It also concerns me that he has fantasies about that. That's something I would never ever want him to do. I made us dinner in my apartment and I decided to bring up the topic. That's when he said, can you just get over it? It's done. But but I kept pushing and asked him some questions. I asked him how long he'd been watching that and if it made him, you know what. He said he'd only been watching it for a few days and that he already stopped and that he wouldn't do it again. Then he said, you have to stop being a prude. I want to be with somebody who's willing to try new stuff. Otherwise, I'd probably end up cheating. This actually really scared me, so I told him that I would try anything as long as I was comfortable with it. I don't want him to leave me because I do love him, but what he was watching on his laptop really made me nervous. I don't think I have the courage to break up with him or anything, and I do want to be with him. I just want to find a way to help him with this and not make it a big deal. I haven't told anybody in my family or my friends. Maybe I should just to see what their reaction is. What should I do? Bye.
Story time about how my best friend and I were dating the same guy. So a little background information, I was 15 and it was my freshman year of high school. And I had been dating this guy for 3 months who we're gonna call Jacob. He was a part of the popular group and was known for cheating on all his past girlfriends. But why would I see that as a red flag? Because I'm fucking dumb. Anyways, of course he was cheating on me too, and people would tell me that. At first I wanted to leave him, but the problem was he came from a super rich family and he was really cute. So in reality, I really only wanted to stay with him so that way he would keep spoiling me with expensive gifts. He would literally buy me anything and everything I wanted. So my best friend, who we can call Taylor, she came over for a sleepover. The whole night we talked about Jacob cheating on me and she asked me why I had not broken up with him yet. So I told her why I wouldn't leave and then she hyped me up. She was like, period sis, do what you gotta do. Well then I came up with this super good plan for my best friend and I both to get gifts from him and use him. So then I came out and I said, you should be his side chick. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my best friend and I were dating the same guy. So like I said before, he was cheating on me 24/7, but he was spending money on me 24/7. That's the reason why I wouldn't leave him. So then I told my best friend that she should be his side chick. So that way we could both use him for his money. So Taylor started flirting with him to try and make him want her too. And I may have given it a little push by giving her his Snapchat, so she tried to slide in his DMs and then also tried texting him on Snapchat. At first, his cheating ass did not want to do anything with her. And I was like, the one time. Anyways, he was like, I'm with your best friend right now. I don't think we should do this. But of course, like all boys who cheat, he ended up meeting up with her. And they started sneaking around. Meanwhile, I knew all the tea. Taylor was telling me everything. Taylor started getting things from him 24/7 and he looked so stupid. Well, then we decided to fuck with him one more time. Like for part 3. Story time about how my best friend and I were dating the same guy at the same time. So like I said, she was sneaking around with him. Meanwhile, she was telling me everything. He was buying her gifts, he was buying me gifts, so everything was perfect. But we had one little trick left up our sleeves. We decided that we would both make a wish list and put everything that we wanted on there. And at the end of the month, we would have a sleepover, bring everything that we got. Well, on the night of the sleepover, we brought everything, and let me tell you, this filled up my king-size bed. There was stuff all on the floor. So what did I do? I took a video of it, and I uploaded it to Instagram, tagging him and his friends, and wrote a long-ass caption, basically saying, if you cross me, this is what will happen. You'll get played. He was so embarrassed, his friends and everyone at school basically laughed at his dumb ass. Well, he ended up telling his mommy about it, and they came and talked to my parents, and they pretty much just told them to get the fuck over it, like, your son did what he did willingly. She didn't do anything wrong. She meaning me. My dad was kind of mad at me, but my mom was super impressed about it, and we laugh about it all the time. Story time about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 9th grade, and we're gonna call my boyfriend Alex. Alex and I had been together for 6 months, and at the beginning of our relationship, his best friend, who we're gonna call Caleb, him and I literally despised each other. But Alex would always want all 3 of us to hang out, so we decided that we had to get along. So we decided to keep it civil only when we were with Alex. Well, fast forward, all of a sudden, Caleb's grown-ass sister starts hanging out with Caleb and Alex 24/7. And it was weird because she was like a senior hanging out with a freshman. But I didn't think anything of it at first. Well, then out of nowhere, while I was at school, like a week later, Alex says that him and I need to have a talk. So we start walking away from Caleb, and as we're walking away, Caleb looks at me and gives me like this good luck look. Then he told me that he wanted us to take a break. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So like I said, he tells me that we need to talk, and then he goes, I think we should take a break. Like, what do you mean take a break? Well, funny thing, throughout this whole break, he was still being touchy with me, still acting like we were in a whole ass relationship. And the whole time I was acting like I was fine, so that way I didn't want him to feel bad for me and felt like he had to get back together with me. And he was acting like nothing happened. Like I said, it was getting to the point where all my friends had started asking if him and I were back together. And I had to be like, no, we're not back together yet. Well, then Friday rolls around, aka 2 weeks later, and he tells me that he misses me. Shocker. So then he said he wanted to get back together. I said yes, obviously, because I still really liked him and I was a dumbass not to see the red flags. Well, now that it was second time around of us being together, I started to notice the first flags that I didn't notice in the beginning of our relationship. Like the one time he went to the mall with his friends and he gave these girls his Snapchat. He wasn't going to tell me about it, but then his friends told me, like for part 3. Part 3 about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So like I said, I started noticing red flags. Well, when I had confronted him about the Snapchat thing, he told me that he felt bad if he didn't give it to them because he didn't want to be mean. Another red flag is that he would never, ever, 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 ever let me touch his phone. Like if he even saw my eyes look at his phone for 0.2 seconds, he would grab it real quick. Anyways, back to him getting with Caleb's sister. When we had got back together after our break, this one girl came up to me and she was like, hey, I have to tell you something. I didn't think it was going to be anything about my relationship with Alex, but here we go. She goes, he broke up with you to hook up with some other girl. So obviously I'm fuming. I go up to him and I'm like, did you break up with me to go and hook up with another girl? He goes, that's in the past. Why are you mad about it? Like we were broken up. Clearly he thought it was okay just to break up whenever you want to go do shit with someone else. Apparently she said that they could do stuff if we broke up, but I ended up finding out that she does this to all of her little brother's friends.
I'm being accused of rape and I don't know if I actually did it. Am I the asshole? Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. This all started 2 years ago at a party. 2 years ago, my friends called me up and told me they had a party to go to. Ironically, I did not want to go to this party. I felt really tired from work and I just wanted the night off to chill. That's until my friend called me and told me that the girl that I liked would be at the party. Here's a little backstory on the girl and me. Her and I met through mutual friends, and from the moment that I met her, I really liked her. The night I met her, I asked her out and she said no. So I left it at that. Of course, my feelings didn't change for her. I still liked her. Anytime I would see her at parties or friends' houses, we would always chat. I never asked her out again, but she could clearly tell that I still liked her. I had a bad habit of staring at her. So when my friend told me that she'd be at the party, I decided to go. As soon as we got to the party, I saw that she was talking to this one guy. Now I have to confess, it made me really angry. This is when I decided to have a few beers. Now here's when things start going bad. I'm starting to get tipsy and my friends start telling me to go talk to her. I said no, but they insisted. Instead of sticking to my guns, I decided to do what my friends wanted me to do. I walked up to this girl, not even saying hello, and I said, are you dating this guy? While this guy is standing right next to us. That's when she pushes me aside and says, it's none of your business. Part 2. I'm being accused of rape and I don't know if I actually did it. Am I the asshole? Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. That's when she pushes me to the side and tells me it's none of my business. That's when the guy that was standing next to her tells me to leave. So I did. I walked back to my friends completely defeated and embarrassed. I felt humiliated. Almost 5 minutes later, she comes up to me and apologizes. She said, I'm sorry I pushed you. I told her it was okay and if we could just talk. We went to the backyard and I asked her why she wasn't interested in me. That's when she told me that she had been in an abusive relationship and she wasn't looking for anything else. I told her that I wasn't looking for a relationship either and that I just really liked her. Basically, I just wanted to hang out with her. She said she wanted to stay away from guys for now and I said why. And that's when she kissed me. I was completely shocked. I was not expecting that. Now I could tell that she had been drinking too because she was a little tipsy. So I kissed her back. I could hear my friends cheering in the background. They're such idiots. So I asked her if she wanted to go somewhere more private. We ended up going to one of the bedrooms in the house and we kept on kissing. At this point, she did not say no. It felt like she wanted it just as much as I did. And we went for it. And to be honest, it only lasted about a minute. After we finished, we kissed and we went back to the party. She held my hand for the rest of the night. In my eyes, things had gone pretty good. But then my worst nightmare began. Part 3 is up. I'm being accused of rape and I don't know if I actually did it. Am I the asshole? Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. After we did the deed, she held my hand for the rest of the night. And there were witnesses to her kissing me and holding my hand that night. A few moments later, she completely disappeared. I didn't see her at all for the next 3 days. I decided to call her the next day, but she did not answer her phone. I also sent her messages, but she didn't text back. 4 days later, I get a knock on my door. And it's her dad. And that's when he told me that his daughter was accusing me of rape. I was in complete shock when he said that. Then he asked me what my version was. I told him exactly what happened and he said that she probably said no and I kept going. I told him that at no point did she say no and that people had seen us kissing and holding hands throughout the night. Then he said I took advantage of her being drunk, but she wasn't even that drunk. He also said she was probably so drunk that she didn't even realize she was holding my hand. Here's the thing. After he left, I sat down and started thinking about the entire night. And I really started thinking back. Did she say no? Did she tell me to stop? I was drunk at the time, but I swear to God she didn't, or at least I didn't hear her say it. Her body language wasn't saying stop. Here's the thing. My parents have a lot of money. Now they're asking my parents to just give them lots of money and that they'll drop everything. My parents are just going to pay them the money. What should I do?
Story time. I was the toxic best friend. So a little background information. I was 16 and a sophomore in high school. And at the beginning of the year, I met this girl who we're going to call Riley. Riley and I hit it off straight away. Like a week after knowing each other, she knew everything about me and I knew everything about her. Well, then she tells me about this guy that she's talking to, who we're going to call Jay. She said that they would hook up sometimes and he would text her sometimes. But she said that I couldn't tell anybody because he said that it had to be a secret. So I tried telling her that he sounded like a fuckboy, but she decided she was going to do whatever she wanted. And I was like, okay. So fast forward to the end of the year, he adds me on Snapchat. Okay, don't get me wrong. He was really hot, but I had my own thing going on. So I really didn't pay that much attention to him. And I thought he maybe added me on Snapchat to be like, oh my God, I really like your best friend. And then I also was caught between a rock and a hard place. Do I tell my best friend that the guy that she likes just added me on Snapchat? Or do I lie to her? Well, I was going to tell her until I got a Snapchat from him, like for part 2. Part 2 about how I was the toxic best friend. So like I said, I didn't know whether I should tell her that he added me on Snapchat or if I should. And I was going to until I got a Snapchat from him saying, hey, you're really pretty. I think we should talk sometime. So I ended up telling her about it because I felt really bad. And she was like, this is why I can't trust girls. Like, you need to unadd him right now. Like, fucking block him. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything. Like, what the fuck? So whatever. I end up blocking him. It's fine. Until he texts me one day. And he's like, hey, it's Jay. I think you blocked me on Snapchat, LOL. And him and I had talked a little bit in school and I kind of started to like him. Well, fast forward, him and I ended up hooking up a few times. We were talking a lot and he hadn't been texting Riley as much. Well, the one night while I was sleeping over her house, my phone was going off a lot and I didn't think to delete any of the messages, like for part 3. Part 3 about how I was the toxic best friend. So like I said, I was sleeping over her house the one night, my phone was blowing up, and she knows my password and everything, and I stupidly did not delete the text messages between Jay and I. And I kid you not, I wake up to a slap across the face. It felt like she slapped me with her fist, and it looked like it too because I had a black eye. So I woke up and she's like, what the fuck? Like, I hate you so much. Like, why would you do this? And I look down and she has my phone right in her hand on the text messages with Jay. And I ended up feeling really bad because she started crying, saying that, like, I knew that she liked him a lot. And I also knew the reason why he wasn't texting her as much. Well, then she ran downstairs and she told her mom. And the next thing I know, I had her mom, and her 3 other sisters screaming at me. And then I got blocked by Jay because she wasn't supposed to know and she leaked his nudes.
My boyfriend confessed to me that he's attracted to my best friend. Should I leave him? Disclaimer's not my Storytime, but send me on Instagram. I know you guys are gonna all say yes immediately, but hear me out. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 6 months. My best friend and I actually met him at a bar. That night, I never expected that he would ever come after me. I consider my best friend the prettier of the two of us, so I'm used to her getting hit on instead of me. But that night, my boyfriend came to me. He talked to me pretty much the entire night, and my best friend told me to go for it. So I did. He and I spent the night together, and after that, we were inseparable. To the point where he wanted me to move in with him after 2 months. My parents thought I was absolutely crazy and they didn't want me to move in with him, but I did anyway. I come from a Latino family, so this was absolutely reprehensible. I went against my family's wishes and they actually stopped speaking to me for a little bit, but luckily I got them back. My boyfriend during that time gave me all his support. He told me that my family would come around eventually and that they would see that we were in love. So living together was the logical next step. After 3 months of living together, I knew that I wanted to marry him, and he would talk about marriage all the time. He asked me what kind of ring I would want and what I would want for the proposal. We even started talking about our honeymoon. I was also starting to get in the best shape of my life. I was looking super snatched. My boyfriend told me that he loved the way that I look, but that he didn't want me to get skinny. Again, I just felt like he was supporting me and loving me. Around this time, my best friend started dating somebody. After a few weeks, they got really serious about the relationship. And of course, we went on double dates. After the 3rd double date, I noticed that my boyfriend was getting a little annoyed. I got the feeling he was jealous of my best friend's boyfriend. Follow for part 2. My boyfriend confessed to me that he's attracted to my best friend. Should I leave him? Disclaimer, it's not my Storytime, send me on Instagram. I asked him if he was jealous of my best friend's boyfriend, and that's when he said no. But every time we would go on double dates, he would get in such a bad mood. 3 weeks ago, my best friend told me that she was moving in with her boyfriend. And when I told my boyfriend that they were moving in, his face almost went green. I asked him what was wrong and he said nothing. After that, he went into the bathroom and didn't come out for 40 minutes. Again, I asked him if he was okay and he said yeah. And I sat him down and asked him to be honest with me. That's when he said, I'm attracted to your best friend. Instantly started to cry because I had already been suspecting it. He explained to me that he didn't have any feelings for her until she got a boyfriend, and that he felt that he had some sort of ownership over her. Before my best friend got a boyfriend, the 3 of us would hang out a lot. And not once then did I ever get a feeling that he was attracted to her. He told me that he would never act on his feelings, but he didn't want to go on any more double dates. I asked him if he wanted to be with her instead of me, and he said absolutely not. He said that I was the love of his life and that attraction only meant attraction, that he didn't have feelings for her. A few days later, he took me to the most expensive restaurant in our city and asked me to marry him. But I didn't know what to say. I can't stop thinking that he's attracted to my best friend. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend confessed to me that he's attracted to my best friend. What should I do? Disclaimer is not my story time. Was sending me on Instagram. After he proposed, I told him I didn't know what to say. He told me to think it over. I finally decided to tell my best friend what my boyfriend had told me. That he had confessed that he was attracted to her. First she laughed. I told her no. I'm serious. He confessed that he's attracted to you. That's when she told me I needed to break up with him. That's when I told her that he had also proposed. And she said, well then you really need to break up with him now. That's when she told me that she didn't want me to resent her and that it was completely out of her control. And I didn't. I promised her that I would never resent her for my boyfriend being attracted to her. It's not like she ever did anything on purpose to make him feel attracted. She also told me that marrying him right now would be rushing into it. And she's kind of right. We've only really known each other for 6 months. Then she told me that she's never gotten the feeling that he's attracted to her. She's never caught him looking at her or anything like that. So now her theory is that he's looking for an easy way out and that he probably wants me to break up with him. But my boyfriend is still sweet and super affectionate. He's constantly showering me with love. My best friend thinks that if I stay with him, our relationship will suffer. I've known my best friend longer. What should I do?
Story time about how I ruined my sister's wedding. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am the disappointment of the family, and you will soon find out why. Because yes, there's more than what has to do with the title. Okay, so a little background information. I was 17 years old and a junior in high school. Well, technically, I was going into my senior year. So it was the end of summer, and I am going on a trip with my family. Now, this isn't any random family trip, considering we never took family trips in the first place. We were poor, like really poor. This was for my older sister's wedding, which was supposed to be huge. Like, there were gonna be so many freaking people there, and like everybody's family member was going, like second cousins, third cousins, extended relatives. Anyways, my sister met this guy her first year of college. He was going to school to be a lawyer, and his parents owned a huge law firm, which was very successful, and he was going to start working there after their honeymoon. And my sister was a few years younger than him. She was never used to the finer things in life. We weren't either. For example, my mom and dad would struggle to put food on the table with both of their incomes combined. It wasn't like my mom was a stay-at-home mom. No, they both worked their asses off. I mean, considering the fact that they had 6 children, kind of understandable where the money was going. But anyways, back to the point. He pretty much was able to give her everything that she wanted, but he also started paying some of my parents' bills and everything like that, so we had a lot of money left over. Now, my sister ended up getting a full ride to a really good school, and that's pretty much the only way that any of us are gonna be able to go to college unless we wanna be in a shit ton of debt. So fast forward, they've been dating for 3 years. They send everybody invitations to the wedding, and we are going to Baja, Mexico. We live in North Dakota. So this was definitely gonna be a little bit of a change, but I was fucking excited because listen here, I have never been outside of the country, let alone on a vacation. And I didn't know this guy from a hole in the wall, but I did not have to know him to know that I liked his money. So my sister was taking one for the team. I guess not really if she actually liked him. But anyways, that's besides the point. So we get to the airport, we all get on the plane. We got there, it was fucking beautiful. We were staying at this private resort. So we all unpacked, we go to where we were supposed to meet up to meet his side of the family, because no, we never met his family either. This was like a first time for everything type of situation, you know? So we meet the family, everybody's super nice. You could definitely tell that they were bougie as fuck. Like, I'm over here wearing a sundress from Walmart, and his whole side of the family is all wearing like Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Dior, everything. But everybody was super nice, honestly. Like, they were all super welcoming. I felt like they were already a part of the family. I mean, my parents were low-key being bitter as fuck. Like, we were sitting down at our table because they didn't like mix the tables for the families or anything. Like, everybody had to sit at like with their family, and my parents are like, oh my god, like these kids are all rich and spoiled, this, that, and the next. We're gonna call my sister sister, Amy. They were like, Amy doesn't belong here, you know? Amy will never get along with these people. Just being bitter as fuck. But I was having a good ass time. It was like a party. I was hanging out with all the cousins and everything like that, you know? And there were a ton of kids there my age, so it was even better. I thought I was gonna be sitting there around a bunch of old people, like... I did hang out with one of the guys there literally the whole night. Not in the way you think we hung out. No, we were actually just having a really, really good time. My sister was giving me like really weird vibes the next day though. I mean, we had a lot of fun the next day because it was just a huge celebration, but I know better than anybody when my sister is like up to something, I want to say. Anyways, fast forward to the end of the night. For some reason, my sister and her husband, we're gonna call him like Brad or something. Yeah, Brad. We'll do Brad. They decided since this wedding was so last minute and they didn't get to have like a bachelor or bachelorette party, they would do that tonight. Now, of course, at first I really did not think I was going to be able to go because, listen, my sister was like super overprotective of me. But after like 4 hours of begging her to go, she finally said that I could come, but I had to stay out of the way and I wasn't allowed to have my phone on me. I wasn't allowed to drink or anything like that, okay? So, you know, I'm like, all right, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was still gonna drink and have my phone. Like, okay, sis. So 8:30 rolls around and my sister is texting me like, hey, where are you? You need to get your ass down here right now. We're about to go. So I get my fine ass in the limo, this black stretch limo with all the pretty lights. There were champagne bottles. Ah! You already know the vibes. I was getting drunk tonight, and that's what it is. So we got to this, quote, private place, like this private little dinner place. Okay, whatever, sis. I'm not that dumb. I'm not gullible. And we walk in, and what do you know? There are men going up and down poles, shaking their ass and their schlong in front of girls' faces. So I'm like, sis, what are we doing here? I thought you said dinner. I'm hungry. And not hungry for this. Anyways, and by the way, keep in mind, I was 17 years old. I never had a boyfriend or never have been around naked men swinging their shit in everybody's faces. But I mean, period, sis, make your money. So we walked in there and all the rest of the bitches are like, woo, let's go. And by the way, none of his family was there. It was only me, my mom, my sister's friends, you know the vibes, you know. Oh, the irony. Okay, a little bit of foreshadowing here. Anyways, so we walk in there, you know, I don't know what to do. Everybody starts running over to the guys, you know, throwing some ones and stuff. So I'm like, all right, whatever, let me go. And I already was like 5 tequila shots in. So I'm like, at this point, let me just go and let me, like, you know, go throw some ones because my sister gave me some money before we came. But then, you know, I start to walk my little ass over. She grabs me by the shirt and goes, excuse me. So I'm like, girl, what the fuck are you doing with your crazy ass? And she's like, hey, if anybody asks where we were at dinner. She's like, we didn't go to a male strip club, we were at dinner that we all got super drunk at and we don't remember what happened the rest of the night. We just know that we woke up at the hotel. And I'm like, all right, sis, whatever. You ain't gonna tell me twice. I know the vibes, I know the drill. Leave me the fuck alone. But then she gave me a stack of $100 bills and she was like, go get some ones, come back, and then we can have a good time. So I'm like, okay, sis. I was a little mad at her first for treating me like I didn't know what was going on, but period. So, you know, I go and I get the ones and I'm throwing dollar bills at all the strippers. My sister is having a great ass time, like, period. But I wanted to text my best friend and like send her a video of what was going on. So I go and I grab my phone out of my sister's purse. And as soon as I grab the phone, my mom grabs a hold of me and she's like, sweetie, she was like, you know, now that you're finally an adult, and I'm like, girl, I'm 17. Anyways, she was like, I think it's time for you and your mother to have a drink. So she takes me over to the bar, and of course my sister gave my mom some money before we came, you know. She's low-key like Fiona out here from Shameless, taking care of her family, period. It's giving Fiona from Shameless, period. So we go over to the bar, we have a few drinks, and at this point I am absolutely drunk as fuck. And then my sister runs over to the bar and she's like, I'm buying everybody a round of shots, including the dancers. After that, I blacked out. Like, real shit, your girl was gone. So fast forward, the next morning I wake up to my sister screaming bloody murder from the bathroom. So I get up to see what's going on, and apparently I missed half of it while I was sleeping. Like, I was dead ass in a coma. So I run to the bathroom to see if I can help. And as soon as I was about to walk in, my mom walks out of the bathroom, pushes me to the side. She was like, get your shit together. We're packing and we're leaving. So I'm like, what the fuck happened in the 10 hours that I don't remember? So at this point, I was extremely confused. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So I go hurry up and I grab my bag and I'm packing things and I'm trying to ask what happened. And all of a sudden my dad says, pack faster, you're in big fucking trouble. And he goes, oh, and by the way, the wedding's off. And I'm like, oh my God, like, did I accidentally fuck her man? Did I accidentally fuck her man? That was what was going through my head at that time. Like, I definitely would not do that, but like, blackout me, I don't know what she's like. I don't know if she would do that. I don't know if she's a hoe. So yeah, so me being confused as fuck as to why I would be in trouble, I go and I text the kid that I was hanging out with the whole night on the first night we got there. And I'm like, hey, like, what happened? You know, everybody's freaking out right now. For about an hour, I had no response until I got a video that I sent him on Snapchat from the night before. Blackout me remembered that I was supposed to take a video for my friend, right? Well, Blackout me also took this video that was meant for my friend and accidentally sent it to the groom's cousin, who was also his best man. Yeah. So now I'm like shitting myself. Like, literally, I don't know what the fuck to do. And I'm like, okay, well, why is it that bad? So then I go and I watch the video all the way through, and I go and I'm like, bitch, I'm at the fucking strip club in Baja, Mexico, you know, like, and I'm like, there's my older sister, and my sister just happened to be in the background with a stripper schlong in her hand. Yeah, because I thought it was something that I could fix, but there's clearly no fixing that. And honestly, I don't think it was my fault. I mean, clearly I would never snitch on my sister purposely, but like, maybe she shouldn't have been being a hoe. So anyways, after I see that, I don't respond with anything, and I go over to my sister. I try apologizing to her. I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. But she just looked at me and she was like, that is exactly why I told you not to fucking have your phone. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And my sister has never like yelled at me like this, like she has, like, you know. So my sister is literally still like in a bit of rage, crying, like hysterically. I don't blame her. And I mean, you can probably guess the only thing I heard on the way home on this fucking plane ride was how I ruined it for my sister. I really did it this time. And you know, now I have to get a job and I have to start paying for all my own shit again, this, that, and the next. Even though I already had a fucking job, they were just pissed off, so they're like making up any excuse in the book to like hate on me. So I guess that nobody else knew the reason why the wedding was called off, and it's been exactly 3 years since my sister has talked to me. So fast forward, my sister finds a way to trap this man back in her web again, and now they are getting married again. Apparently, everybody on his side of the family just thought that she got cold feet. But now that they're getting married again, she invited me to the wedding. And she's talking to me again. So that's good. But like, definitely was not expected.
Am I the asshole for what I said after my husband commented on my flat chest? My husband, Jared. I don't know. What if she said something really bad? It could have been really mean. You're about to see.
But that doesn't justify commenting on someone's body.
This is true. My husband, Jared, and I have been married for 3 years. He's currently out of work, used to work at a high-paying job, but got kicked out of the company over a fight with a coworker, and I'm the one paying for rent and utilities. We dedicate some time to seeing his family weekly. They don't know he's unemployed because he thought they'll see him as a failure, especially his mom, so he told me to keep it a secret. Last night, we were sitting, eating dinner at the table. His cousin was talking about his fiance going to Brazil to do a boob job. Jared asked if he was serious, then flattered future sister-in-law's boobs, saying they're perfect and that he didn't understand why she'd get a boob job. He then turned to me, stared at my chest while I was eating. I have a flat chest. I'm insecure about it, but don't do anything about it, obviously, and said, quote, "Hey, why don't you get a boob job? You're the one who needs it the most." His mom gasped and was like, "Jared." I then turned to him and said, quote, "I'll get a boob job once you get an actual job since you've been unemployed for 6 months now." He stared at me in
Honestly,
disbelief.
like he deserves it.
His mom began questioning him about being unemployed, and he denied. Then
He kept lying.
admitted it was true. It got awkward with his mom scolding him and others shaming him for it and for hiding it. He got so overwhelmed he went outside and stayed inside the car until I came out. He started yelling at me repeatedly, quote, "You couldn't have held your f***ing tongue." I argued that his comment about my chest was insulting, but he said he was giving me a piece of advice and that there's nothing wrong with him wanting me to look pretty, and that he said what he said.
So he doesn't think she looks pretty?
He said what he said out of support and encouragement, but what I did was the complete opposite, and that it was intended to hurt him, and I succeeded. I called him later thinking he calmed down, but his friend said he didn't want to speak to me and I should give him space.
I feel like she should get divorced.
Give him all the space in the world.
He's obviously a very insecure person.
Well, all of this is like
He's
his own
reactive.
making.
He's a
Yeah.
reactive person. And my guess is his reactive personality comes from this insecurity whenever he gets challenged, or, you know, the type of person who would call their wife flat chested in public and then make it about like how, like, well, I guess essentially gaslight them into making him feel like he was trying to do her a favor.
Yeah. I was supportive. I
yeah.
was trying to make you the prettiest you can be.
When people like call in for my Ask Nick segments, I would ask her, tell me what you're grateful for in the relationship and tell me how he makes you feel.
Yeah.
I doubt she'd have a long list of things that she's grateful for.